Module 3, the Production Possibilities Curve Model. In this module, you will learn the importance of trade-offs in economic analysis and all about the Production Possibilities Curve Model and what it tells us about efficiency, opportunity cost, and economic growth. And we will discuss that the two sources of economic growth are increases in availability of resources and improvement in technology. Before we get started with actual content, pause the video and take a minute to set up your notes. Remember, this format will highlight key ideas and help you when you look back at your notes to study. Today, you will learn about the first of many economic models, the Production Possibilities Model. But what exactly is a model in economics? Models are descriptions of our most basic decision-making trends. While they are highly simplified, we find their presence in even the most complex of situations. Economists create and use models to simplify very complex real-world situations as they examine and explain behaviors and predict consequences. Now, as we look at these models, keep in mind that every model we look at will have some simplifying assumptions. Typically, resources are fixed, and we're looking at this current point in time. Technology is constant throughout our analysis, and the economy will produce only one or two types of products. In Module 1, we established that people and societies have scarce resources. In seeking to fulfill their wants and needs, all people will use those scarce resources in a way that maximizes their utility. Utility is a word we will come across often in economics. Utility is sort of like happiness or usefulness or satisfaction in economic speak. It is a consideration of what will better our situation. For example, we don't like paying taxes, but it is preferable to sitting in jail. Or, for a more personal example, why do you attend class every day? It may not be the most fun way you could spend your time, but you know that in the long run, it will provide the most satisfaction for your life. Remember, as a result of scarcity, people are constantly making trade-offs as they give up one thing in order to have something else. The Production Possibilities Model illustrates these trade-offs. The Production Possibilities Model allows us to examine two alternate ways an economy can use its scarce resources or factors of production to create goods and services. The curve shows various combinations that can be produced when all resources are being utilized in the most productively efficient manner possible given the current level of resources and technology. Let's stop a minute, pause the video, and summarize the first page of notes before we jump into what the model looks like and how it works. Now, go ahead and set up the next section of notes. In this section, just as a heads up, you will want to draw graphs to illustrate these ideas. Remember, our model is going to have simplifying assumptions. A fixed availability of resources, constant technology, and two types of products. Let's look at how this model works for a local pizza phenomenon, Guido's. In our situation, Guido's can produce two products. That's our simplifying assumption. We are going to assume Guido's can produce only pizza or calzones. Now, in reality, could Guido's produce other things? Of course. Breadsticks, pasta, cannolis. But imagine drawing that on paper. We'd need like 10 different axes. We keep it to just two, so we can keep it simple. What resources will Guido's need to make these things? Dough, pizza sauce, toppings, workers, ovens. Now, assuming Guido's is efficiently using all of these resources and they produced only pizzas, notice this shows they could produce 8 pizzas in an hour. Or, if they made only calzones, they could produce 8 calzones in an hour. But not both. Why not? Scarcity of resources. Alternatively, Guido's could produce 7 pizzas and 1 calzone, 6 pizzas and 2 calzones, 5 pizzas and 3 calzones. Hopefully you get the picture there. But can they produce 5 pizzas and 5 calzones? Look at the graph. Notice that this lies to the right of the production possibilities curve. Anything to the right of the production possibilities curve cannot be produced. Why? Scarcity. They would need a larger kitchen or more workers or some other resources to get that production level. Now, could they produce 4 calzones and 2 pizzas like at point C? Sure. This does not exceed their production possibilities. But if they're producing at point C, some resources would not be used. This is considered inefficient. And what would this do to Guido's profits if it had a full restaurant? Inefficiency is considered bad and economic. Now notice points A and point B both show different combinations of production. Either of those is equally good. Guido would choose whichever combination best fit the needs of the customers he had in his restaurant. Both of those would be maximizing the use of resources, and he would maximize his utility by choosing the option that maximized his profit in this case. But if he were at point C, he is not using all of his resources, including labor. This is bad not only for Guido, but it's bad for us as a society, because it means there are people possibly who are unemployed who theoretically could have jobs. Our production possibilities curve also shows the ideas of trade-off and opportunity cost. If Guido's is producing at point A, he is producing 6 calzones and 2 pizzas. If more customers want pizza, Guido has to trade off making calzones to make pizza instead. By quantifying this, we can find the opportunity cost. At point A, Guido makes 6 calzones and 2 pizzas. At point B, Guido makes 4 calzones and 4 pizzas. So to increase the number of pizzas by 2, Guido had to give up 2 calzones. This was the opportunity cost. So production possibilities shows us the opportunity cost of increasing production of one item in terms of producing another item. Remember, opportunity cost has nothing to do with money, but the other things given up. Also notice that Guido is deciding how much of each item to produce. He doesn't have to produce only pizza or calzones. He can produce a mix of each. So the production possibilities curve also shows the idea of marginal analysis. Notice, in this production possibilities model we've been looking at, the curve is not very curvy. In fact, it's a straight line. You'll see this often occurs in economics, that we call something a curve that has a straight line. This just means that it has a constant slope, and in this case it means it has a constant opportunity cost. In this case, Guido's has a 1-to-1 opportunity cost at each point on the graph. reality, production possibilities curves often look more like this. Imagine if we wanted to switch production so that we stopped making calzones and only made pizzas, but we had the best calzone maker in Denver working in Guido's Pizza Shop. The idea with increasing opportunity costs is that all resources are not created equal. Think about other instances of resources. Some pro athletes are better than others, and they're certainly better at their sport than at other sports. Some land is more fertile for growing food than other land. All laptop computers are definitely not created equal. So, at Guido's, not all workers are created equal. Some workers are better pizza makers, other workers are better at making calzones. How would that change our production possibilities? It would look more like the one here. Notice that now it is not a constant one-for-one opportunity cost as it was before. Notice how the opportunity costs change for each added unit of calzones and pizzas. Economists call this idea the law of increasing opportunity costs. The more of a product produced, the greater its marginal opportunity cost. The slope of the production possibilities curve becomes steeper going left to right, demonstrating this increasing opportunity cost. This makes the curve appear bowed out, concave from the origin. Why? Economic resources are not completely adaptable to those alternative uses. In this case, it was with the talent of our labor supply. But it is seen even more strongly with capital goods. For example, a pizza oven would not be as efficient at producing many other types of food. So which one will you use? Well, if you are given numbers to plot, you should create evenly spaced distances for your quantities so that you create a scale, and you should plot them as you're given. If you're not given points to plot, then it really doesn't matter. If you're not given points to plot, you can draw it straight or you can draw it with a bowed out curve. It is important though to know the difference in what the two mean if you see them drawn on a test. Pause the video here again and summarize this page of notes before you get started on the next section. And take a minute to prepare for your final section of notes. Economic growth. Economic growth means an expansion of the economy's production possibilities. The economy can now produce more of everything. Let's say that Guido's is producing at some point on its production possibilities curve. We know that Guido's is bounded by its available resources. So then what allows Guido to produce even more pizza and calzones at the same time? More resources. Guido's could expand its kitchen and add an extra pizza oven, making room to hire additional labor and bring in additional ingredients. Or maybe Guido sends all of his workers to pizza making school and they all become super fast at spinning those pizzas in the air. Or maybe it's technology. If Guido replaced the old oven with a new super speed oven, this would allow them to cook the food more quickly. Let's examine what this would look like on the graph. To show this increase in production possibilities, or growth. We draw a new curve to the right of the old curve. Points of production that were previously unattainable now become attainable. Notice that this example shows the capability of both pizza and calzones increasing roughly equally. However, this isn't always the case. Let's imagine that all of Guido's workers get training in more efficient ways to make calzones. This would expand the calzone side only of the graph without expanding the pizza side. While it would still increase the combinations, it would not have as much of an impact on the overall growth. While we were looking at Guido's, this was considered a microeconomic problem. We were looking at it from the perspective of a business. However, individuals, another microeconomic level question, can also have production possibilities dilemmas. For example, Castaway Tom can produce either coconuts or fish on his island paradise. Here, we can see his production possibilities. Again, review the different points on the graph. A and B are both viable alternatives where Tom is fully using his resources. Which is the better option, A or B? Well, whichever Tom prefers. Economists see either as being equally efficient, but if he likes coconuts better, he would probably prefer point A, where if he likes fish better, he would prefer point B. Why can't he produce at D? Not enough resources. What would get him to D? Additional resources or technological advances or skills. For example, if he improved his skill in climbing coconut trees, maybe he could get up there eventually. What about point C? Maybe Tom is taking a few too many naps. Whatever the case, he is not producing as much as he could be. Is this constant opportunity cost or increasing opportunity cost? Look at the shape of the line. It has a constant slope, so it's a straight line and it has a constant opportunity cost. And while you could figure this out numerically, you don't have to. You know this is the case because you saw the straight line. What if his production possibilities curve looked like this instead? What changed? Well, we no longer have that straight curve with the constant opportunity cost. Now we have a bowed out curve showing increasing opportunity cost. What would be some things that could cause this? Pause the video and come up with 3 possible explanations. Write them on the back of your notes and we'll discuss them in class tomorrow. Here, we see Tom's production possibilities curve grow. Look at the way it grows and brainstorm some ideas that could cause this. What do you notice about the growth? Does it occur equally for coconuts and fish? Brainstorm some ideas that could cause this pattern of growth and write these down on the back of your notes as well. There are several ways you could be asked to apply the productions possibilities model. We have been looking at microeconomic level problems. Guido's had to decide just in their restaurant how to make decisions around resources. Tom had to decide for himself if he would produce coconuts or fish. On a daily basis, you make decisions. Will you produce an A in econ or an A in calculus? However, we can also look at macroeconomic level problems. 2 common ways to look at the macroeconomic problem of production possibilities of a country are capital versus consumer goods and guns versus butter. Capital goods are goods used by businesses to create other goods. Consumer goods are goods purchased by consumers in stores or other markets. Guns versus butter is looking at military goods versus civilian goods. World War II is a commonplace you will see this example used. During World War II, the U.S. worked with a variety of industries to support the war effort. For example, they convinced car manufacturers to shift production from cars, a civilian good, to planes and tanks, military goods. This caused a shortage of civilian goods. Just to note, here are some various ways you may see economists and the AP exam refer to the production possibilities model. They are all referring to the same idea. If it says production possibilities, it means the model we have been looking at in this module. Pause the video again here and summarize this page of notes, and then we will finish up. If you need some additional practice for these concepts, be sure to check these out. Again, you may not need to use all of these resources, but you may want to find one that really makes sense to you. Now that we are finished, take a minute at this point and review your notes. Add your own examples where you can. Mark questions that you have that you wish to discuss in class tomorrow, or and write down anything you want me to talk about on a note card, sticky note, or small piece of paper, so you can hand it to me as you come into class, and I can make sure that we get those questions answered.